How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scarlet, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about loads of things. We've got when the possible next trailer is coming and new information about Scarlet and Violet, a bunch of theories about the third legendary, some possible leaks, and some possible evolution information. So sit back, there is a lot to talk about. So let's get started straight away, right away from here, guys. So Soul Silver posted this. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. What's important is what is attached below. The Pokemon Scarlet and Violet news could be mixed in if there is a Treehouse Live after, or maybe they will drop the region name and the map after this direct. It's an easy guess that it will be soon. Now, what is he talking about? Well, basically, this was posted here by Kilios, which is a website owner, a website like admin, so to say, who runs a whole website in French, and he oftentimes does only really speak when there is real information to say, and he says, when they do this, there's a Nintendo Direct coming soon. And what is this? Well, they're doing a super promo of games on the eShop right now for Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Lego Star Wars and Pokemon Snap and stuff. You can get like promos on it, and even Nintendo of Europe tweeted out this specifically thing saying like they kick off on the, I think, 9th of this month, which is tomorrow after I'm recording this video. So on Thursday this kicks off, which does make sense. This does track. They do these promotion thingies and like discounts right before they're doing a big reveal and a new direct and stuff like that, maybe just to get people in to buy old games so that they can start promoting the next games, right? Trying to double dip on that audience, which is interesting. And he does also say down here that I'm also referring to this, and he's talking about here the big countdown that you guys have to remember that's happening, which I've talked about this before and I'll mention it quickly again. Over on the Pokemon YouTube channel, and if you guys do not know who Soul Silver is, he's a leak analyst, really great at doing that, but also what he's saying here is that over on the YouTube channel, they're doing these YouTube shorts. So you can see them down here. It says visit Kanto, visit Johto. They also have one for Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, and whatnot, and they do these once every week. So May 4th, May 11th, May 18th, May 25th, June 1st, June 8th, June 15th is probably going to be the next one. We have one today dropping, which is for Kalos. The next one will be next week, and the one after that will be on the 22nd. And this is probably the countdown until the next trailer that's going to drop on the 28th or the 29th. So I'm guaranteeing you we're going to get a new trailer then. But that's not the only thing. As mentioned, as we already just pointed out from Soul Silver here, if there is a Nintendo Direct in the middle of this month, so we're talking this week, next week, whatever, most likely next week, if there is one, there will most likely be Pokemon information. Not massive information, but some information, possibly our first actual real gameplay where we get to see like, Masuda, probably not Masuda, but Omori, Masuda, someone sitting and playing it like they did for Sword and Shield back in 2019. So that's one of the first things, guys. The new trailer is coming soon, and the idea of a new Nintendo Direct is also being pushed by other people like Roberto Serrano, who says there will be one in the first half of July, but also that there should be a small Nintendo Direct in June, each with a focus on a single title coming to Nintendo Switch. And this all makes sense because if you guys do not play this game or know about this, Xenoblade is getting a new game, and I think that's coming out very soon, so it only makes sense that they would have another one to kind of talk more about it, so, or more information about it, push it more, etc. But I do think there's a Nintendo Direct coming our way. Next up is the subject matter of a new legendary, a third legendary, because we already do know Pokemon games tend to do this, right? Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquaza, Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, etc. They always have a third legendary that's usually included. So who's the third legend in this case? Well, we've always been kind of speculating about this, and we got a massive theory here from Soul Silver, and I've got some of my own theories I think are worth talking about. So he says the third legend equals the sun. The third legend is the sun. If you guys do not know, again, who he is a leak analyzer. He's in good contact with Riddler Coup, and Riddler Coup, which we're going to talk about later, is a real legitimate leaker. He gives us real information, and everything he says is oftentimes, well, pretty much always correct. So keep that in mind. But what he's saying here is that the legendary is the sun, and it's white light, which is used, it's the white light, which is then used as the gimmick in the game. Still could be a peacock design or a dragon. So what he's talking about here is there is a lot of references to the sun in these trailers. In this case, the two legendaries are both looking towards the sun, and they're looking towards the horizon, right? Across the ocean. Again, these games are based on the Iberian Peninsula. That's Portugal and Spain combined. Those two are what they combine into a single one. So, of course, as we've been talking about, there is a connection to the sun in these games. The sun is non-stop refracting its light in all the parts of the trailer. It's always a sunlight shining straight onto us. But there is more to say. So let's go down here and see what else he has to say here. Huge. El imperio donde nunca se pone el sol. This is basically what it says here, which means Spain was the first and longest nation to be called this, which, if we translate it, is the empire in which the sun never sets. Spain was one of the first ones to claim this title because they had an empire that spanned all across the world. They basically had, well, land all across the world. All continents had a bit of, Spain in them, so to say. And the phrase specifically here, as it says, was used to describe certain global empires that were so extensive that it seemed as though it was always daytime in at least one part of its territory. It was originally used for the empire of Charles V, who, as Duke of Burgundy, King of Spain, Archduke of Austria, and Holy Roman Emperor, attempted to build a universal monarchy. So, yeah, the term was then used for the Spanish Empire of Philip II of Spain as well. So there is a lot of connections, again, to the sun. And even here, if you look at the actual, the kind of like the sun halo, like the halo of the sun, and then it causes a kind of a rainbow sphere almost here, you guys can see. But what shape is the sun making in the middle? Well, it makes a shape that looks just like the logo from the icon. Again, it looks just like it. There is a clear connection between the two. It is all connected to the sun. Now, the way that I think personally this is going to be working is that the sunlight itself is going to cause certain Pokemon to actually acquire sort of attributes because of it, but there will be different ways to harness that energy, and one of those attributes will either be for the, if we're talking about the Scarlet side, will be a more traditional way of doing it versus the Violet side, which will be more futuristic as a way to do it. So maybe, think of like how we have Pokeballs and then Master Balls as a way. Maybe not that extreme, but like Master Balls are more extreme. They're more technologically advanced or whatever. Pokeballs are older. They're, more antiquated or, whatever. Some kind of like even actually comparing old Pokeballs from Hisui to new Pokeballs from the modern era. Kind of like that is more the way to actually say this. Now, the next thing is actually pretty big as well. I'm going to be talking about this a bit further later, but there is some interesting stuff to say about the character Nemona. And if you guys do not know who Nemona is our rival in these games, which we've seen in the trailer. Now, what we have been discovering recently is that Nemona is kind of strange. So, first of all, Nemona backwards is an omen. Now, if you guys do not know what an omen is a premonition, a sort of prediction of the future that usually it's kind of a premonition of something either good or bad happening. You can have a good omen or a bad omen. Something may happen that might be an omen towards something else. So, for example, you might drop your, glass of milk, and that might be a bad omen. Somebody might say, oh, that's a bad omen. That means something bad's going to be happening. Or vice versa. You might, win a race, and it's like, oh, that's a good omen. That means you may succeed on, your future endeavors. My point is, that's basically what it means. So she is an omen, but the other part of her name connects to the word Nemo, which means nothing. So she is literally an omen of nothing. Okay, the end of all time. If you tie all this together with the sun aspect, which is what we're talking about, that the gimmick in the game may have to do with the sun, or that the legend may have to do with the sun going supernova destroys everything, turning it to nothing. Okay, this all fits in perfectly together. It's like a perfect match of all these things together. And there is a further piece here from Soul Silver who says there's much about Nemona's name that we know about, but there is another direction Game Freak could have gone with it. So while I agree, I wouldn't throw this out so fast. Maybe Game Freak meant this for Nemona instead of the other theories we have, or even both. I think she'll be very integral to the Scarlet Violet story. I do think so as well. There has been this theory as well from Capsule here, who's been saying that, like, right here. So there's this theory that, she's connected to, I think her name even does connect with, I think, Captain Nemo, as well as Odysseus, which both were essentially, based, I guess, on each other. Captain Nemo was, but that's besides the point. Basically, those two were explorers, right? They explored the world. They traveled the world, so to say, and they went on an exploration within their own stories. Like, if you guys have ever read the Odyssey, they basically just were explorers and travelers. So she is some form of a traveler. This is kind of interesting because if you connect it all together, it all comes back to this, again, idea of traversal, exploration, which makes sense with this game being, again, based on Spain and Portugal as well, which are countries, by the way, that have explored the whole world. They were, sort of exploration countries that went out and explored and saw the world and, conquered a lot of the world as well, to be frankly honest, but that's besides the point. It comes back to some other stuff as well. So here is what's being said. Her name means an omen and nobody. Maybe she's related to the third legendary, as I previously speculated. Maybe the third legend is the Scarlet Violet region's sun and light source that is imploding due to Nemona and her omen. Okay, so the other two legends come from different time periods to prevent that. The new rival could be that, again, Nemo is Latin for nobody, no one, and it's not coincidental. It definitely is connected. Now, she might be, here causing trouble. Like, she might be the bad omen. She might be a omen that's causing an issue, and because of that, the third legendary kind of, you know, is kind of causing havoc, and it's causing these things to happen in the region, like changes in the Pokemon that might give us a third typing. But the bigger thing is, she might be trying to, like, kind of accidentally destroying the region in the process, so she could also be hinting at what the third legend looks like. I imagine a half-bird dragon that is green and black. This Pokemon could be very much tied to her, and maybe to light, refraction, and dispersion. Or maybe it's only tied to her and not the gimmick. So, we'll have to wait and see, because if you look into the Peacock Dragon, which is the evil third legendary based on Buddhist and Yajidi religions, which the tailed feathers being a rainbow with each type color. So apparently, the golden peacock used to sit upon the summit watching the rising sun. And apparently, within a lot of cultures, peacocks are considered evil. They're considered the bringers of a bad, like, luck. They're considered the bringers of destruction and the end, so to say, which is interesting because there are peacocks that are colored green. And why do I bring this up? Well, if you look at the color spectrum, right now, we've talked about this before, but if you look at the literal color spectrum, which, again, remember, light has to disperse to create all the different colors that we see. Light is originally just white. White then disperses to create all the other colors. On the two different sides of the spectrum, you have one side over here, which is ultraviolet. Ultraviolet makes sense with, well, violet, as you guys already know. On the other side, you have infrared, which is, well, makes sense with Pokemon Scarlet. Both are on opposite sides of the spectrum, right? And those two are beyond the visibility of our, like, we can't see those, okay? Those are the colors that our eyes cannot perceive. We can't see those. However, those are at the opposite ends of each other. What's in the middle, though, is green. In the middle of all these is green. Now, of course, if you guys look at it from, you know, whatever perspective, you might think it's yellow, but it could also be that. But green is technically in the middle right here, okay? It's around the middle. So what does this mean? Well, I am speculating that we're going to be getting a peacock-based or cockatrice-based, which is, again, a mythological creature, a cockatrice, peacock, kind of dragon mix type Pokemon, which does fit with the two existing legendaries that I think personally is going to be green colored, and there is a bigger reason for this, and I'm going to explain why I think it's going to be green colored specifically, and it's because of this. Now, these two are the flags of Spain. So the first one up there is the current Spanish flag, okay? That's the current, like, official Spanish flag on the top, which, if you look at the colors, is, well, mainly yellow and red. The bottom image right here is of the flag of the old Republic of Spain. This is the old version of the flag, which has, well, guess what? Yellow and purple at the bottom with red on the top. Now, what does this look reminiscent to? Well, if you didn't know, it looks just like the logos for these games. Guess what? You've got yellow for one of them, for, like, you know, like, again, it's the vice versa thing. For the old logo here, we have the colors of the new flag. For the violet logo for the future game, the one that has, like, the more futuristic font and everything, the one that has a future, like, legendary, we have the old Spanish flag colors, which are, again, the purple, the yellow, and whatnot. You've got these colors matching up, but these are specifically the Spanish flags. What about the third legend? And what about the third element here? Where's the third element, right? Well, there's one country that's definitely being included in this game, because remember, this is about the Iberian Peninsula. So specifically, Spain and Portugal. Now, what do you notice about the Portuguese flag? Well, it also has red and yellow, but it also has green. The one color that in the spectrum is in the middle. One is to the far left for, you know, obviously the future or the past. The other one on the opposite end to the far right for the future or the past. But in the middle, we have the present legendary, the legendary for the present time, which fits perfectly with the color green, which also matches perfectly with the Portuguese flag. Ladies and gentlemen, this just makes too much sense. This fits too perfectly. And we know for a fact that Portugal and Spain are the basis for this game's region. Both are being used. It's not just Spain or just Portugal. It's both. Both are being used for the basis of this region, which is crazy, but it doesn't end there. There is a Portuguese sort of tradition or story about this thingy. I'm not sure if it's actually Portuguese. It might be like the other way around, but nonetheless, there is this idea of the Barcelos rooster, which is this kind of black-colored rooster, which more or less died and it's just a weird one, okay? It's a legendary kind of story and creature. And Masuda, one of the main people at Pokemon, who right now works for the Pokemon Company instead of Game Freak, he specifically did say in an old interview that, yes, he might want to, in the future, make a Pokemon based on it. And guess what? It just makes sense. Also, remember this, guys. If this is all connected to the sun, what happens, and this was pointed out to me by, I think, Jat over on YouTube, who said, what is the animal that's always correlated with a sunrise? When the sun rises, what Pokemon is the first one you will hear? Well, normally it's a rooster. A rooster wakes you up on a farm. A rooster is what goes cocorico and you hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all connected. This all fits in perfectly. And even right here, and this was sent to me by Lindsay Sensei. If you guys do not know what this is an old drawing, an old concept, which was like made a long time ago. And as described by Lindsay, basically, this is a project, an idea of an airship that was supposedly built in 1709. But what's interesting is that this one showcases, again, a sun and the shape of a rooster. There is a massive connection to roosters, cockatrices, and again, just like something to do with these creatures, these animals. Something's just connected to them the whole time. So we can pretty much assume that the third legend is going to have a connection there too. Next up is again something to do with light and the sun. And this is coming to us from Eclipse. Now, you guys do not know who Eclipse is. He is a kind of leaker slash riddler. He doesn't always have correct information, but sometimes he does. And in this case, he's saying that the professors in Scarlet and Violet, they study refraction, but not to know more about the gimmick like they just discovered it. Rather, this time it's already well known in the region, and they're testing a better way to recreate the gimmick using natural light, refracting it artificially to achieve so. So what he's talking about here is that basically, the game's gimmick has to do with light. He's pretty much confirming in his words here that it's got to do with the light. But not just that, that the region, this is not something new to them. The people in the Scarlet and Violet region, they are not new to this concept and using this like feature or these abilities. They're not new to it. However, they're used to it and they're trying to find ways to exploit it or use it better. And I think this is perfect and it makes total sense. You know why? You know why, lads? Because this is basically the same thing as Sword and Shield, and they love to reuse their IDs. Now, what am I talking about? You might be a bit confused. Well, think about this. In Sword and Shield, we had Dynamax power, okay? Dynamax power more or less worked in the sense of, okay, well, you know, we can harness this weird power from this external world, from this external place, and we can use it to, you know, make our Pokemon way more powerful, right? That's kind of what it pretty much served as. But then there existed an evil person. The evil person being Rose, trying to exploit it to try to, you know, not let the world kind of go backwards. Almost like a weird doomer gloomer type thing with him. So is it possible that the desires of the professors in these games, which I think are evil, by the way, watch our previous video about that, but I think they're evil, is it possible that their goal here is to try to do the same thing? They are the evil villains doing the same thing. They already know how to use Dynamaxing, in this case, something else, we don't know what to call it. Let's call it Crystal Power for now. They know how to use Crystal Power for now, but they want to exploit it to its fullest extent. They want to exploit it to bring along the legendaries possibly, or even bring out the third legendary that specifically causes this whole gimmick to happen, right? Maybe the third legendary is causing the light to be refracted into the world, and that's what causes certain Pokemon to change or gain new typings or something along those lines. So what do you guys think? Also, an interesting theory here by people over on our Discord from Angelos, who specifically said, if you actually look at the design of some of the Pokemon, they look a little bit similar, and somebody realized that the kind of, I guess, Galar version, the Galarian version of Zapdos kind of looks a bit, in some way, kind of looks a bit like possibly a, you know, cockatrice almost, in some kind of way, or almost more like a, you know, not really sure what the name of the animal is again, but it kind of looks like it. But not just that, if you actually look at the colors of these guys, their forms, they all have colors that match with the new games. You've got the violet one, you got the scarlet colored one, and one that is orange though, which it's a bit different. It's not green as I assume, but it does match up well. So what do you guys think about this one really quickly? Then we have the logo. Now, a lot of people are speculating what the logo is, but one interesting point that was made by Soul Silver and sent this my way, by the way, he specifically pointed out, if you look at the logo, it's clearly connected to the legendary. Why? Because if you actually look in the top corners, don't look at those circles. Look at the kind of hands sticking out, like these 3 fingers sticking out. So this whole logo, it's clearly got to do with the legends themselves and their different forms rather than other parts of the game. It definitely feels like what we're seeing here is more connected to that rather than being connected to other, like, you know, possible things. I mean, literally, this is Koraidon's head. You guys can straight up see it. It's straight up Koraidon's head. Like, no question about it. It's right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, are these little icons, are they connected to different features in the game or the 5 different travel forms that are going to be there for the legendaries? We'll have to wait and see. So let me know in the comment section down below about that one. Moving on to the next subject really quick. So this is from Soul Silver, and he kind of discovered something very interesting here, saying, guys, I am so dumb. It could be something as easy as this regional frog, which is a weird thing to say, but what is he referring to here? Well, he's talking about this post right here where Riddler specifically was saying something along the lines of, okay, you guys should look at this one. Just notice that with we're still in May, and RF for May, right? Question mark. I'm always generous, so we could also give a damn to the second place. Mentioned RF and cognitive inertia both. Did anyone ever query what extra RF could possibly mean to besides RF? By the way, this fan art, someone nailed it. And he's talking about the fan art up there, which shows a water ground type, I think, a ground water type Diglett. But not just that, he specifically is telling us here that RF doesn't have to mean regional form. It means something else. And here, it might have been figured out because it is groundwater, and the Pokemon that do have groundwater typing, as mentioned by our boy Soul Silver here, are Pokemon like the Wooper line and Seismitoad, right, line. They could be possibly being the referenced ones here, which could mean that those guys are going to be getting either new forms or new evolutions. So what do you guys personally think about this? Because if you look at all this, it all kind of makes sense, right? It kind of fits in. And like somebody literally said here, Simon Fitzgerald literally said, is it regional frog? Would still line up with the Quagsire, Seismitoad, and Froakie lines perfectly right here. Could be literally that. And we go down here, and this person also said, kind of there's an interesting case here. Hey Ku, I was thinking, what about RF meaning reaction form from the Pokemon having reacted to the Gimmick Stone, resulting in a new type and form? F is for, and he says, F is what you should care about, not R. And again, that is interesting, because he's not talking about that being the important one. The F part is the important one. So, is it specifically referring to a frog? We do not know. And same thing here. He says, I'm dumb. Part 2 could also be fish. I really think the second picture is an amphibian, though. So, ladies and gentlemen, are we going to be getting a new form for a ground water type Pokemon, or one of the frogs, I guess in this case, maybe gaining it? Maybe is that what's happening? Like is Seismitoad line, etc. Or one of them going to be getting, or one of the frogs going to be getting that? We'll have to wait and see, right? So, we continue on to the next things. This is just a quick post. I wanted to feature this because I think it was just interesting to mention, but this is definitely most likely fake, okay? There is no chance this one is real, as if it was on the website, we would have seen it. But yeah, this was posted, and this was shared by Den Tommy, or Tommy's Dynamax Den. Yeah, he just wasn't a fan of it, and yeah, I'm going to be telling you right now, pretty sure this guy isn't real. This most likely definitely isn't real. Just keep that in mind. But I just want to share that with you guys and give you that information. Moving us on to the next subject, which I think is quite interesting. So this one is from Soul Silver again. Says, I assume this and the past and future rumors were the real ones to have been cut and now used in Scarlet and Violet and PLA. The stars rumor makes sense, and it adds up to all the connections to Ultra Sun and Moon. Now, what is he talking about? Well, Eclipse specifically went out, and if you guys again do not know Eclipse, he is a Riddler, a leaker, stuff like that. He said Scarlet and Violet are in the works at least since December 2017, either embryonically, which is in this case conceptual ideas around the story and legendaries and some key characters, or literally, aka they have been, you know, being programmed and all that. I think both, and they postponed the main projects, which is releasing this year. Actually, before December 2017, because this specific date is some information leaked, so meaning the project started before that. These leaks were coming from China as well. What a coincidence, huh? It's all real. The rock, paper, scissors might have even been reworked into the love mastery system from PLA, and agile and strong style along the normal attacks. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. And he says, I like when real leaks they're seemingly partially wrong at first because of how Game Freak handles their own internal IDs over time. Remember Pokemon Stars? I'm not saying it's based on facts, I know for sure, but what if some stuff from that project was shifted and split into future games? Past beta leaks taught us so, which is true. Past leaked Pokemon, there were beta versions of Surfetch'd. Surfetch'd is a Pokemon that we received in Galar, but its design was already created back in Gold and Silver and was scrapped. Back then, it was scrapped, and there's been a few of the Pokemon that scrapped IDs back then that received them now in the future. So keep that in mind. And down here even says, there was a question from Soldiers. I've been speculating this for a while now. It's something I personally fully believe is true, that shelved content from previous gens can be added in the new games and new gens and even make up a lot of the Gen 9 specifically. And he says, oh, don't worry, there's one, I'm sure. I tweeted about it for this reason. It's a very old one too, which could be referring to a Palmy, the new electric type gaining evolution. And he does continue here saying, it doesn't offer much new, but not everything is fully confirmed yet. So I'm keeping an eye on it. And here he's referring to a post that was an old rumor right here. So you guys can go over and check it out on Poke Jungle, but it's an old rumor that said some interesting stuff. It said apparently that the Chinese localization team had already finished translating the games and the script, that there will be no new Mega Evolutions introduced in that game, which back again, this rumor ended up being not real, but some of the stuff is interesting. He says Azimuth would return and be controlled using motion controls that are active with Joy-Cons. Well, that didn't happen. And the central plot revolves about the conflict between tradition and innovation, which is true, and the region's inspiration has been rumored to be Spain or Italy, which again also fits, and that it was supposed to be late 2018 December or early 2019. However, again, this information, as we already mentioned, it is interesting because he does also say here that apparently the games feature a new simplified battle system, which technically kind of is happening. It is true, and it's been compared to that of Digimon World games. For those not familiar with those, it's a real-time battle style system in which moves are still selected via menu and include options to attack or block moves from your opponent. This all again fits perfectly, okay, with Legends Arceus and probably what we're going to be getting in these games as well. So it all fits in really well, guys. And yeah, I don't know about you guys, it does sound very similar, and it's something as well that's fun to think about. And to complete it, Ultra Beasts have been included in the Stars project on Switch. Then after the news from 2016 and after the fake leak in 2017, Ultra and Moon was announced. In between this time window, Game Freak decided to drop the project and use it for future games, IDs, and stalling time with Ultra Sun and Moon instead. So maybe this is just a chance. If Ultra Beast's presence is in the initial Stars project was important enough for the plot, we might even see them again in Scarlet and Violet. Of course, they haven't changed their mind, of course, unless they have done that, you know what I mean? It'd be hard for him to believe that, but who knows? Who knows, guys? We'll have to wait and see. Also, guys, this all is, again, speculation, so don't assume that we're going to be getting Ultra Beasts back, but hey, it's all fun to speculate and talk about at the end of the day anyways, which leads us into the, I guess, kind of final thing for this video, which is a few different posts. So the first one is this theory right here by Kurapika ET over on Reddit, who said, hello, so the new gimmick is obviously highly related to the sun symbolic. So no wonder the theme of this generation is seemingly centered around the light spectrum. And if you open up, I guess, this image right here, he's showing off, again, there is a lot of connections to light here. There's a lot of sun, the sunflowers, everything. There's a lot of connections to all of them. Even like look at this. Yeah, even if you look at this, it's literally sunflower, like, you know, petals, like sunflower petals that are flying around the Pokemon. It is too on the nose to not be connected, right? But he continues on saying, but what is up with the sunflower element? Do you think it was randomly chosen, or do you believe that there's a much deeper meaning for it? I'm over-elaborating this ID. Perhaps the new gimmick has to do with the photosynthesis in some way, which, yes, it definitely is. Pokemon are going to be taking this harsh sunlight, or some kind of sunlight that's going to be causing a change in their, like, some kind of change in the Pokemon. He says, could there be two methods to access this gimmick? One involving an old school and natural process, while the other involves an advanced and artificial process, with each method promoted by Sada and Tour respectively. It kind of goes in line with the legendary mascot's design as well, as Koraidon looks organic and lively, while Miraidon looks robotic and electric, which, again, yes, is true. I think this is a great theory. Again, we just need to understand what the gimmick is. Is it a third typing? Is it a new form? What exactly is it? Is it a type change to the moves? Is it a Z move type thing? Is it a Dynamax type thing? Is it a Mega type thing? What is it going to look like? How's it going to work? We're still waiting to figure that one out, but I think it's a great theory to include. Next is this post right here. So this was shared over on 4chan, and the person said, on the artwork, you can see one scale. On James Turner's artwork, you can only see one scale, but in the last 2 trailers, it has 2 scales at the back. I think it has gender differences. On the leak, you can see different positions of the eyelashes. The pink circle shows female, and the blue circle shows male. Now, what is he talking about? Well, if you look at the original artworks, this is the original artwork. If you look at the tail here, it only has one of those patches on it. However, if you look at this fan art made by, well, guess what? James Turner, a person who works over at the Pokemon Company, makes a lot of the Pokemon that we've seen. He drew it with only one patch. But if you look at the official artwork here, or sorry, official gameplay, it has 2 patches. And is it possible then, because if you look at this quote-unquote leaked image, which again, nobody's came out and claimed it as their own, nobody's claimed if it's real or fake. If you look at this one, you've got the pink one here being female, all the pink circled ones, but this one right here is a bit different. The actual eyelash is not doubled, it's a single one that's like further away, right? It's not like, you know, in the same way. It like looks different. It doesn't look like a heart like the other 2 do. So if you really zoom in, you can tell that. So is it possible? Is it somewhat possible that this could be possibly real? Because again, nobody's claimed this one as fake, etc. Nothing like that. And there is a real life story in Spain that connects perfectly with this Pokemon. There's like an actual, like, literal thing that connects to this, like, in a perfect manner. It like straight up connects to it perfectly. So again, we'll have to wait and see. I wonder what you guys think about this. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts and opinions. I do think this Pokemon right here is a bit of a strange one because, again, like I said, a literal, like, real-life mythological connection exists here about a nun that ended up, like, well, kind of, like, metamorphosizing into a kind of a creature, like, or an angel with, like, or a weird thing with, like, wings, like a butterfly-type wings, which was similar to this and could, like, almost look like a lizard of sorts. So it is a bit strange. It all does connect in a weird way, but I want to know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. So thank you for watching. My name is Scarlet. If you guys want to check out some other videos, I've posted loads of videos recently on these different theories, so you guys can check out all that. And we have a podcast over on Pokemaniacs Podcast. You guys can check that out for more news, information, stuff like that. But thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace out.